Ladies and gentlemen, I am honoured and delighted to introduce to you Nobel laureate Elinor Ostrom.
Thank you very much. This is a day that started with a big surprise. Your phone rings at 6:30 in the morning and you wonder, well, is that somebody calling with a recording? Is there going to be a voice at the other end? And I was very surprised that there was a real human at the other end and indicating that it was from Stockholm, and the committee had made their decision, and they wanted to award me and Oliver Williamson the prize in economics. A great thrill, a very big surprise. What a way to start a Monday morning. Since my dissertation, I have been studying how local people, as well as government officials, have attempted to solve very difficult resource problems. So my first study was in California of groundwater, and I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and the ocean's right there, and if you pull the groundwater down, surprise, surprise, salt water comes in, and if they had not found a way of reducing the amount of water they pumped and doing a variety of other creative things, they would have had to given up the groundwater basin to saltwater. And I was very fortunate. I started that as a seminar paper, and I kept going and going and learning. I sat in on many meetings where there were local people, many of whom were engineers as well as public officials, trying to solve a very difficult problem. And it took them a long time, but they were successful. That's been studied now several other times, and one of my doctoral students is there right now while we're talking and doing a study that will be over a 60-year period of what's happened. And we're trying to understand the robustness of systems that get created. A lot of studies are just, oh, what happened now? But, you know, we're in a problem in terms of some of our resources that we've only looked at short run, and we've not looked at the long run. And deforestation, global change, loss of fisheries, all of these things are because of short-term rather than long-term thinking. But if you're going to address some of the questions about how do people govern very important resources like our forests, can just a social scientist or just a forester address the question of how to stop deforestation? And I'd say no. But working together, where we really are trying to understand the problems that people whose lives depend on those forests, how they have organized and how they make a difference. We now have over 200 forests that we've studied around the world. One of the absolutely key, most important variables as to whether or not a forest survives and continues is whether local people monitor each other and its use, not officials, locals. And I'm not denigrating that officials can do something very positive. But what we have ignored is what citizens can do, and the importance of real involvement of the people involved, as opposed to just having somebody in Washington or at far, far distant make a rule. How does that get all the way down to management of forests, fisheries, irrigation systems, etc.? So we have to look round up. When individuals have the way of working together officially and can build trust and respect, they may be able to solve problems that we've relied on the presumption that, you know, I think PhDs have a lot to offer in this world. But because a public official has a PhD, doesn't necessarily mean that they know more than people who have been struggling with a resource for 25 to 50 years, and their ancestors and ancestors' ancestors lived there. There's a lot of indigenous knowledge that we need to respect. And I would be trying to understand that and explaining our knowledge about that, as well as the knowledge that we've gained in the experimental lab, where we took game theoretic analyses and tested them. And the work of Garrett Hardin, we tested in the lab. And if you cannot communicate and you are facing a problem like a fishery and no communication is allowed, people overharvest drastically. Simply allowing people to communicate and discuss what they can do, simply communication, makes a huge difference. And when, in addition, people can design in a lab the rules that they will follow in the future, then they get up to 92% of optimal. And I won't go into the mathematics of it all, but believe me, it's 92% of optimal.